There's a new round of war in Syria. Things are pretty dire, and we're seeing jihadists attacking ordinary people, minorities, Christians, Druze communities, Kurdish people, and even Arabs belonging to the government of Damascus. Let's find out why this is happening and who's behind it. Hello, everybody. My name is Stavros. You're with me on Black Flag Media. This is an independent media channel promoting democracy and peace. I'm a professor of international relations and an advocate for democracy. Let's talk about Syria. Things are pretty dire. And everything actually began a week ago when we saw these jihadist groups controlled by Turkey, and this needs to be cleared up from the very beginning. We need to be aware of this. These are people who are jihadists. These are terrorists, actually. They're controlled by Turkey. They have their base of operations in Idlib, which is part of Syria, and Turkey is an illegally occupying force inside Syria in Idlib. So they have put there their own terrorist groups, and they launched this attack against both the government, the legitimate government of Bashar al-Assad in Damascus, and also minorities, and also the Kurdish region controlled by the Kurds, by the Syrian Kurds. So let us try and understand and unpack what happened and why this happened. 1 week ago, we have more than enough time now to study and actually realize who's behind this attack. Again, before we begin, the people that actually are fighting the so-called rebels or political opposition to Bashar al-Assad, they're not rebels, they're not opposition, they're criminal, they're terrorists, they're monsters. There are people who have been decapitating, they have been enemies, they have been arresting members of the Assad army, and they have been decapitating on camera. They're not just criminals, they're pure monsters. They're crazy, they're dangerous. They're like ISIS, truly. These people, the so-called Hayat Tahrir al-Sam, the jihadist terrorist organization who's leading the charge right now, it used to be, they rebranded themselves. They used to be called Al-Nusra Front, and the Al-Nusra Front was the Syrian wing of Al-Qaeda. So these people are Al-Qaeda and ex-ISIS and ex-Al-Qaeda that they're trying to rebrand themselves, and Turkey is sponsoring them. Turkey is the greatest sponsor of jihadi terrorism right now in the whole of the world. This is what's happening. So these jihadists have been targeted. They have been tapped by the Turkish military and the Turkish intelligence agency MIT to attack basically the Kurds, but also the Syrians. So it wasn't just the Turks, though. It seems that this is an alliance of sorts between Turkey and Israel and the US. Obviously, the US is backing Israel. So they're the ones, these are the forces behind this attack. It's not a coincidence. I mean, we would be fooled to believe that this is a coincidence, that this attack began the same day that both Israel and Lebanon declared that there's a ceasefire between the two countries. Granted, Israel violated the ceasefire and started bombarding again cities and towns and innocent people, actually. But granted, this was the day when these people started attacking inside Syria. And I have this quote here from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Mind you, he is wanted as a war criminal by the International Criminal Court. He said he threatened the Syrian president Bashar al-Assad to stop playing with fire because of his relationship with Hezbollah. So yes, so he threatened this guy, and this guy was attacked the same day by these proxies controlled by not only the Turks, but indirectly by the US and directly by the Israelis. Also, the French are here because, as you have to understand, that the people backing Bashar al-Assad is mainly Iran and Russia. So France has a major problem with they consider the Russians to be their major adversary because they have been kicked out of Africa by Wagner, the Russian mercenary force. So the French were supporting this scheme as well. So it was a NATO, in a sense, scheme here, a NATO plot by the US, France, I guess Israel. You can say that it's a major ally of the US, and then Turkey, which is also a NATO member, and they are the ones sponsoring and paying and supporting the terrorists, the jihadists. So this is what happened. So the US approved it. Israel is supporting it, and again they're targeting Russians and well, the Russian, in a sense, ally, which is Bashar al-Assad, and also the Iranian ally. So the problem here was that, well, actually, let's find out what's going on right now on the ground before we begin to the analysis. It seems that these people have basically occupied Aleppo, which is perhaps the second, no, definitely the second biggest city in the country, but perhaps the most important one. It's a financial hub. It's the cultural capital of Syrian Arabs. So they have occupied this whole city. The Turkish terrorists, besides two neighborhoods that both the Kurdish people and the Greek Orthodox community reside. They have taken refuge in these neighborhoods, these districts inside Aleppo, and they have been protected by the Kurdish forces. The Kurdish forces are the only ones who did not flee. The Syrian forces of Bashar al-Assad fled. They dropped their weapons. They left tanks, even air fighters, to the jihadists controlled by Turkey, and they actually control them now. So the Kurdish people, the Kurdish army, were the only ones who stood by, and their people, and also all the minorities, and not only fought, they're fighting right now, they're protecting them right now. So they took over Aleppo. They tried, the jihadists, to push southward towards Damascus. They're now fighting in the city of Hama, but mainly now they have diverted their attention against the Kurdish lands, because again, the main problem for Erdogan is Kurds. So he is directing his army of terrorists and scum and criminals to attack the Kurdish people in Manbij. They already lost territory in the Sehba region. The Kurdish people lost Tel Rifat, and now they're trying to protect the region in Manbij. So this is a Turkish intelligence directing terrorists to attack Kurdish lands. That's what it is. At the same time, we're seeing Turkish and Turkmenic fighters among the so-called Arab opposition. Some Uyghurs, some people from Central Asia fighting, some Chechen people. So these are hardcore terrorists that have been not only trained, and Turkey has been providing them with arms and money and medical support as well, but they have been training them to launch other attacks in other parts of the world, especially including Moscow. Like, these are the same people who had targeted Moscow in the Crocus City Hall attack some months ago. Because I mentioned Moscow, we need to realize that Moscow is weakened because of the Ukraine war. They're weakened, and they're not as strong as they used to be in the country, in Syria. They have a naval base in Tartus, which is in the northern western part of the country, and they have an air base close to that in Khmaimim. But they have diverted many of their forces away from the Middle East theater to the Ukrainian theater, obviously, because that is the main and important thing for them. Also, this is not an accident or a coincidence, because we saw the Russians using a new ballistic missile. I'm talking about the Oresnik, which was a strike a couple of weeks ago that devastated parts of Ukraine, a military-industrial facility inside Ukraine, actually. And this was a new weapon that created major tensions and raised some eyebrows in the West. So this is a response to that, I guess, as well, because the Russians have the momentum on the ground against the Ukrainians. They introduced this destructive new weapon, so they needed to be stopped. So everything coincided to attack the Russian interests in Russia as well, in Syria as well. So we see how everything works to the Western NATO mind, interest, and strategy. Also, Iran is also weakened. Iran is a major patron of Bashar al-Assad, and they have been supporting the regime through Hezbollah. Hezbollah is also weakened. They have been decapitated. Their leadership is in shambles. They have just stopped fighting the Israelis. Now again, the Israelis they began fighting against them once more. But Hezbollah is weakened. They don't have the troops to support the Bashar al-Assad regime anymore. Iran doesn't want to be involved directly. They're gathering their forces because they're afraid of a new Israeli airstrike when Trump gets into office in the U.S. Capitol. They think that the Israelis will attack them again. So Iran is weakened. Their main proxy, Hezbollah is weakened, so Iran was weakened, Russia was weakened. This was ripe to the taking, for the taking. These lands around Idlib, around Afrin, and in Aleppo. Obviously, the Turks wanted to do something about Bashar al-Assad as well. This is also a major problem here. We're seeing not only Turkish people inside the so-called rebels, meaning the terrorists, but they're doing some gray wolf symbols, which is the neo-Nazi symbol that the government of Recep Tayyip Erdogan uses, the racist sign that they use. So they're pretty much among the terrorists, the fighters there. And while they're attacking through land, they're being supported by Israel from the air. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, are bombarding actually Assad all these days. Even the past Saturday, actually, Israel said that we hit weapons smuggling, a weapon smuggling site in Syria, a site or a depot that I guess Hezbollah has been using this depot to transport weapons. So the main transportation route is from Iran to Iraq to Syria and then to Lebanon to arm Hezbollah. So the Israelis are saying that this is happening right now, which is crazy. Saturday, who would do that? Almost 4 days inside this fighting, who would actually send weapons to Lebanon? This is impossible to believe. Bashar al-Assad is not transporting anything. He's trying to fight for his own life, actually, for his skin. So this was just an excuse. The IDF started bombarding military installations inside Syria. So they're fighting together with the terrorists and the Turks. So they're the wings above the militias and the terrorist militias that the Turks are directing on the ground. I mean, there's many different theories here, and there's some cables from WikiLeaks, WikiLeaks. I'm talking about Julian Assange here, and it seems that yes, the CIA had some involvement in creating these terrorist groups in the first place, and the U.S. has tried to frame these people as moderates, as moderate opposition. They're not. They're terrorists. They began as the Al Qaeda wing of Syria, so there's no way that they're terrorists. If we consider that Al Qaeda is an arch enemy of the U.S. and they were behind the two-tower attacks, you cannot call them moderates. It means that this is not a state. The U.S. is a silly state to actually say that. Also, these people have been trained in the Golan Heights, which is an occupied land of Syria by the Israelis. This is a place where the Israelis are running black ops. They have been training people. So the U.S. created them. The CIA, along with the Israelis, they gave them weapons to create this civil war in Syria in 2011. After they failed, they botched their coup because of the Iranian and Russian support to the Syrian regime. Then what happened is that Turkey actually took charge of these orphan terrorists, and with funding from Qatar, the Turks utilized them to fight against Libya. They sent them in Libya with planes, with their airways, with their air flag carrier, and also they used them in Nagorno-Karabakh in Armenia, and they are using them obviously right here. So now these guys belong to the Turks. They have been using it also against the Kurds as well. Remember Kobani, which was a momentous win for the Kurds, for humanity actually. They beat ISIS back there, and the Turks was also obviously orchestrating that. They were behind that as well. So yes. Right now, the Russians are trying to support with their airplanes. That they're trying to support the Damascus regime, Bashar al-Assad. They have been bombarding the terrorists. They have been stopping them, it seems. But interestingly, there is, for some reason, it seems that the Russians are unwilling to name and blame the Turks for supporting this operation, for being behind the terrorists. They have been whitewashing the Turks the same way that everybody's doing that. They're not admitting the Russians that the Turks are behind this, and this is a pity, because truly the Turks the Turks trained the terrorists that attacked Crocus City Hall in Moscow. So Moscow should be more I guess truthful to what is happening. They're denying truth to their own citizens, which is extremely problematic. Interestingly, we are also seeing Ukrainian trainers supporting and training the these terrorists by the Turks. It's one alliance here: Israel, U.S., France, Turkey, and Ukraine. Ukraine has sworn that they will attack Russian interests anywhere. They have been doing that in the Sahel. They have been allying themselves with terrorists in the Sahel region against Wagner troops. So they're doing the same thing here. They have been giving these people, these terrorists, drones. They have been training them, and according to media from Kiev, it seems that yes, these people are being supported by the Ukrainians as well. Interestingly, also the Turkish government is, I guess, they're trying to create bridges. Build bridges with Israel and both the U.S. They want to say to the U.S. by doing this attack that yes, we will do whatever you want to do and weaken the Assad regime. We would be willing to occupy parts of Syria and become, in a sense, to replace Iranian influence in the country if you're willing to give us that sphere of influence. So they're asking the Americans for permission to basically replace Iran inside Syria, and they can control Syria for the Israeli and U.S. interests. Also, because they were afraid, as we said in this channel, that there was this idea, this concept of creating a great Kurdistan, by dismembering Iran, by dismembering Turkey. Iraq and Syria they're already dismembered. So if we saw like a separatist movement inside Turkey and Iran, you could have a new Kurdish state that could go all the way from Iran to the Mediterranean Sea, and this could work as a bulwark to protect Israel from its Muslim Arab neighbors. Because again, the Kurdish people are not Arabs, obviously. They're not that devout Muslim people, and they don't have the historical grievances and differences with the Israelis. So because the Turkish government was afraid of that, they are saying that, yes, you know what, I can basically kill the Turks, the Kurds, and they're trying to commit genocide against the Kurds right now, and I can be that country for you. I can be that bulwark of Israel for you. So they're trying to create an alternative for Israel. They're trying to be, don't pay any attention to what Erdogan is saying against Israel. He's lying. He's calling Netanyahu a Nazi, but he's supporting Israel. He's keeping the oil to flow from Azerbaijan to Israel. He's doing trade with Israel through the West Bank. He's supporting the war machine of Netanyahu. So he wants to basically say that I want to develop relationships with Israel, and I want to be your guy in the region. This is clear. Also, what he wants to do is he wants to legitimize the occupation that he already has forced upon the people of northern Syria in Idlib and Afrin. And for many months now, almost a year now, he wanted to normalize relations with Bashar al-Assad. Erdogan did. Bashar al-Assad said, no, you know what? I'm not going to be talking to you. I'm not going to be normalized relations with you as long as you're occupying my country. First, you have to go. You have to take your troops and go. Turkey is an illegally occupying force in many parts of the world. Obviously, in Cyprus, the northern part of Cyprus, which is an illegal occupation according to the UN Security Council. They should get the heck out of Cyprus. They should get the heck out of Syria, Iraq, Libya, Nagorno-Karabakh. They're occupiers, generally speaking, and they're committing genocide against Kurdish people, Greeks, Armenians. And Bashar al-Assad was saying basically, you have to leave first. Even though he was being pressured by both Erdogan and Putin, he was adamant and he wasn't willing to compromise. Erdogan saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to be putting more pressure to you with this invasion. And if it works, and I guess he didn't expect it to work at such a level. So now this is great because he can use now this leverage as a diplomatic card and put pressure on Assad to sit at the table with him. Also, he has a big, vast amount. He has many people. I think it's like almost 3.4 million people. So a huge amount of people, Syrian refugees inside Turkey, and this is both a political and a financial problem for Turkey. He wants to return them to Syria. I guess now he can do that. He can put these people inside Syria after he conquered these lands. And trust me, again, because these people are terrorists belonging to Turkey, these territories that they gain belong to Turkey. So Turkey controls these territories, and they can transfer these refugees from inside Turkey inside Syria, which was something that he wanted to make through a deal. with Assad. Now he's making it happen through these terrorist groups that he controls. So yeah, finally, what he wanted to do, and I guess he managed to make it, is to begin the process of the so-called Misak Emili, the 1920 National Oath of the Turks. This is an oath that the Turks gave after they lost after World War I. They said that we need to liberate specific lands in our periphery. This is our national oath to make everything in our power to liberate these lands, and they did mention Aleppo, Mosul, Kirkuk, even Greek lands like Thessaloniki, other parts of the Aegean and Cyprus. This is part of their national oath, and this is a big win because it seems that Turkey and Erdogan, they're rebuilding their Ottoman Empire. This is a neo-Ottoman dream and plan that it started materializing. It's crazy. It's chilling to the bone that these people are trying to recreate an empire and started invading other lands and started recreating this autocratic regime of the Ottomans. But yes, this was part of the goal initially back in 1920 to conquer Aleppo, and they did so. Right now, it's really frightful because Mosul, Kirkuk comes next, and then Greek land. So we need, humanity needs to step up and call them for what they are. They're invaders. They're supporters of jihadist terrorists. They're committing genocide against all these people, and they need to be stopped. So this is what's happening. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions. I guess this is a complex situation. It's a developing situation. Let's talk more about it. I would be glad to hear what you have to say about this. If you did like this video, do like it in YouTube, and you can share it around. There's more video like this coming, so make sure to subscribe. Keep raising the black flag, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. One last thing, there's the refugee crisis. I mentioned the millions of refugees inside Turkey, but this is only a fraction of what's to come. We already have many people who are IDPs, internally displaced people inside Syria, and more people will start flowing in Europe because of this crisis. And Turkey is part to blame, obviously. So instead of giving money to Turkey, funding them for creating these wars, the EU should start basically asking Turkey to stop being an imperialistic country. So instead of giving them money, we should be sanctioning them for the migration and refugee crisis that they're creating, with all these troubles for people and the deaths in the Aegean and the Mediterranean. They're to blame.